Hey, how's everybody doing? Thanks for tuning in again today. Hope everybody's doing well. So yesterday, if you watched the previous video, I talked about basically labor rates and getting this thing ready to block sand. So I got it all, spent about 4 hours on it yesterday, block sand in the car, roof, quarters, down the sail panels, and A-pillars really well, where I did some repair in A-pillars. I showed you all that in the video. So I'll walk around, show what it looks like once I got it blocked, and then I'll put the camera up, put some primer on it, and show what it looks like with second coat, or the second, I won't say second coat, primer for the second time. That's probably all it's going to take on this one. It turned out blocked out really straight. This car was pretty straight anyway. Had a couple more little dings in the roof than I thought it had, but those all blocked out really well. So I think blocking it once is probably going to be it for this one as far as roof and quarters. It should be sufficient. So first, thanks for watching and thanks for subscribing, and let's check it out real quick. All right, so start with the A-pillar on the driver's side. Got all that. Had some sand scratches in there where I did some repair work. Got all that sanded out. All that's gone. I always hand sand down the rockers as well. I know rockers don't have much area as far as once you do base and clear, but you always want them to look nice and smooth. Now quarter, had a couple little dings in the quarter. Those all blocked out really well. All the nice lines are really nice and crisp. Now when I prime these cars, most of the primer comes up in here as far as trying to block all this nice and straight. When I prime, I try not to put a lot of material in my body lines because all that does is just fill it up and takes the body lines away. Same down here. I try to keep the primer to a minimum. I do prime it, but you can control your gun when you're priming as far as how much material you put in these flat spots to block them nice and smooth. So that's why my lines always kind of look nice and crisp. I don't put a lot of primer in the arch lines or the molding lines, just to keep a lot of the material out of those. And then you just block them down. Got the sail panel arrows nice and smooth. Took a lot of lead out of this side and the other side. Roof turned out, blocked out really nice. Got that looking good. And down the A-pillars, looking really good. You see the etch prime right here. Feather's really nice. Taillight panel, didn't do much to the taillight panel. It didn't need much, so it's pretty much ready to paint. It was really super straight. You know, once you get your taillights in there and license plate, there ain't much to see. Passenger quarter, same thing. Second priming should hold up, should be sufficient. Now this one was really bad as well. I showed you that one on camera. It had a lot of lead in this one. This is nice and smooth now, no high spots at all. Took all them out. Roof's nice and flat. Down the A-pillar. Now you see I got a little cut through right here where you see some metal. Normally I won't hit that with etch prime because it's so minor and I wouldn't worry about it too much. But if you want to, you can go back and hit that with etch primer. It's not a big deal. Same thing here. Got all the A-pillars looking nice and smooth, ready for some more primer. Down the rockers and the B-pillar right there. So that's it. Looking really, really nice. So, you can see I'm still covered in block dust and all that other stuff. Let me know what y'all think so far. I'm going to go ahead, mix up some primer, try to set the camera up somehow over here on the window so you guys watch me prime if you want to. It's not a big deal. But yeah, I'm using the Omni 2K to go back over this. It mixes 4-to-1, and you can mix it 1-to-1. 4 parts primer, 1 part activator, and then 1 part reducer to thin it out. If you've got a lot of body work on your car, don't use any reducer. It will spray a little thick, but that 2K primer, it expands really well. And if you got a lot of kind of iffy spots in your body work, it will fill a lot of that in. Especially if you got some sand scratches or maybe some pinholes or something like that. That way you don't have to go back over at spot putty or Bondo or glazing putty or whatever. I see a lot of guys on some of these channels, not even Mustang channels, just some of these rebuild channels. I'll see them do filler work. They'll sand it, prime it, and wet sand and paint it. Guys, when you do any kind of filler work, I don't care how good a body guy you are. I've been doing this for a long time. I still go over and block sand my repair work with 220. Then go back over and reprime it so you get it nice and straight. Otherwise, you're going to pull sand scratches after it cures up, and you're going to see your body work. There's no way around that. So be ready to do that. Don't think you can just mud it, prime it, sand it, paint it. You're going to have to block it at least one time to fill in some sand scratches and make sure your repair works straight. So yeah, that's it. I'm going to get this set up and get some primer put down on this thing. Let me know what y'all think so far. This car's turned out really, really nice. So once I get this reprimed, I'm going to untape all the windows and stuff and get back to working the inside of the floor pan and a couple little spots I got to do on the back half of the car underneath. Get the rear clip cleaned up underneath, get it primed, and get some fresh paint on the bottom of the back half of the car. So that being said, hang tight and let's get this set up. All right, so get y'all set up on camera a little bit. Put some 2K down on this. Now this one I mixed 4 1-to-1, like I said, 4 parts primer, 1 part activator, 1 part reducer. You can always thin it a little bit more. 4 1-to-1 is basically what I use for my last coat of primer. If you don't use reducer with this 2K primer and you're going to use this to paint over top of, that stuff gets really hard and it's really hard to wet sand. It takes a long time. If you reduce it, it's thinner, there's less orange peel, and it wet sands really fast. So I've got primer mixed up in the gun. We're going to put mask on. We're going to put a couple coats of primer on this thing, and we'll see what it looks like second time. Got to get my stepper later. All right, so that's the first coat of clear. I've got the garage doors cracked at the bottom, so it's actually pushing all the overspray out the door. Turned out pretty nice. I'm gonna let this flash for about 10 or 15 minutes, and then we'll get the second coat on. We'll unwrap it and see what it looks like. All right, so I'm waiting for this first coat to flash off, and what I mean by that, for those that don't paint much, when you let your primer down, it's shiny, and when maybe by flashing, it'll dull down. That lets all the chemicals evaporate out of the primer that you just sprayed, so you can go back and put your second coat of clear on, or primer on, excuse me. Same thing with clear, works the same way, same principle. If you don't do that, you're going to get a lot of small fish eyes in there that you got to go back and block out, because your fresh coat that you just laid down is still releasing chemicals into the air, gases out of that primer, so it's got to evaporate all that before you can put your second coat of primer or clear or paint on it, whatever you're doing. It all pretty much the same principle. If you see me look down the side, the good thing about this primer, once you put it on don't put it on heavy, but you notice I'm back about a foot from the panel, just laying a nice even coat. You don't want to put it on heavy, because you do that, you're going to get a run. Primer, no big deal. Paint, clear, different story. I try to lay my primer down, especially my last coat, really nice and smooth and even, but I still want a nice shine to it, so that way I can look down that panel from the side, and I know it's a light color, but if you've been doing it long enough, you can still see maybe if you missed a dent or you got a wave you need to block back out. So far, everything looks really, really straight on the car. I don't see any waves that I missed or dents that I missed. Sadly though, it does happen. You get paint on one, different story. I've missed a dent or two here and there. Nobody's perfect. That's just a process with blocking. When you put your guide coat down and you block it all back down, which I did yesterday, you always seem to get all of it nice and flat, nice and smooth, but eventually, sometimes, once in a while, you will miss a dent or a ding, or maybe have a little wave. If you see that, sometimes you can block it down with a wet block when you're blocking it to buff it. That'll take some of that out. And like I said in my previous videos or whatever, I'm always doing body work, whether it's filler, primer, clear, paint, or whatever. Normally when I paint one of these cars, I'll put 3 or 4 coats of clear on one, because I know I'm going to cut a coat off of that, so I want plenty of material left when I'm done. So I'm not just flapping, just waiting, just trying to help you guys out that are new to this video or new to this process, or how to paint or primer or whatever. You see it's getting a nice flat sheen to it, so it's almost where I can put my second coat of primer on it to get it where it's nice and smooth. I'm only doing 2 coats on this, because once this is done, this will be my final coat. I'm going to wet sand after that and then paint over what you see here. Now, a lot of guys will use a sealer. Personally, every time I use sealer, I mess something up. It messes the paint up, the base up, or something. It causes all kinds of problems. I don't know why. Maybe it's just me and I don't know how to use sealer. I have no idea. So if you've got a nice, good primer coat, you don't need a sealer. The only time I really recommend a sealer is if you've got you repaired a front door edge or a fender edge or something, and you work that area, and you've got primer halfway down the fender and the rest of it's paint. So you've got uneven material there. Now if you're blending that fender and you're trying to keep it to match, paint over the primer and blend that paint that you have left over, so it blends into the new paint, so it matches somewhat. But if you're painting the whole car and it doesn't matter, yeah, you're going to want to put a sealer on that panel so it's all nice and even. So when you go to put your paint on it, it's not mismatched. It lays down nice and even, and that panel doesn't have a light spot that you may have missed in the booth. Once you get it outside, you'll see it. In the paint booth, you're not going to see that. But yeah, so it's flashed off pretty good. I'm going to go ahead, put a second coat of primer on it, and open the doors, get some sunlight in here, and then we'll do a quick walk around and see what it looks like. So let's get the second coat on. All right, boys and girls that are still watching, got it all second coat of primer put on, lay down nice and smooth. Look down both quarters of the roof. I didn't see any waves, any dents. Now that might change once it's shiny. You never know. Show you the A-pillar area. All the sand scratches are gone. Looks really nice. Rockers look good. Quarters look good. Got it untaped. The plan now is finish cleaning up inside the floor pan. Do a little repairs inside the trunk floor. There's a bracket for the gas tank strap on the bottom side. I got to do some repair work too, and some damage to it. So I got to fix that. Wire wheel the back half of the car, etch, epoxy, put some fresh red overspray on it. So wrap this video up. Let's check it out and let me know your thoughts. All right, so Project Frankie, second coat of primer. For all you all checking it out. Down the rockers. Looking good. We did this once already. Like I said, I didn't lay a lot of material, so I got really nice crisp lines. It's important to me. Watch my past videos. I'm a real stickler for that. Up the A-pillars, I know it's hard to tell, but this is all nice. Laid down nice and flat. Very minimal transfer from quarter to roof line up here. Very minimal. Up in here, I did cut some of the old seam sealer out to make sure there was no rust underneath the old seam sealer. It's nice, no rust under that. So I'll go back, I'll replace that seam sealer. I'll show you how to do that in the next video. It comes out here and it's supposed to come up this quarter line right here to cover up this roof skin. Actually lays this quarter. Roof skin lays, you can see the roof skin comes down through here and over this way. That's the actual roof skin itself. So underneath that seam sealer. Get another roof, get nice and flat. So the taillight panel, I did spend a lot of time stripping down in here to bare metal. It had a couple, just like I said, that stuff oxidizes down through there. They do galvanize that, so when it does get some corrosion, it does oxidize a little bit. Down the quarter, get nice and straight. Up in here, very minimal transfer as well, just like the other side. Got all that cleaned up, looking good. And just nice flat roof. See down in here where I welded it in, primer made that look nice and pretty. Looks really good. I will paint this. The original color will get gapped, paint all the way around the window frame, just like the original paint here. A-pillar, passenger side, second coat, nothing to hide there. Rockers on both sides, super straight. I didn't show you the other side, I do apologize. I'll walk over there real quick. So the rockers on this car were in super shape. The pinch welds, I think I had one spot on the driver's side I straightened out, but the rest of them super nice. I did strip all the paint off of there with a roll lock on a 90 degree, took it down to metal and then etched in 2K. The driver's side pinch weld, looking super straight. Like I said, there's the holes drilled for the ground effects retainers. It's very important to drill those holes before you paint the car. That way they're primered, etched, and 2K. If you paint them and you don't drill them, and then the car's painted, you drill holes, you got bare metal, it's just going to rust underneath of that. So always drill those first. If you're doing a GT kit on an LX or something, make sure you drill those first before you prime them and then paint the car. That way they're protected. So that's it for this video. Sorry for rambling, talking a lot, just trying to educate you guys. Oh, my primer overlap, what I mean by overlap, when you put a coat of primer, I normally got a 2 or 3 inch overlap on my primer in between that coat, next coat. Just when you're doing the gun, just like a 3 inch overlap. Nothing major, just make sure you get good coverage. Like I said, this is my final coat of primer on the roof and the quarters. This will get painted over, so going to do a lot of work between now and then. So when you're doing this kind of work, just be careful not to get new dents. You don't want to go back and fix stuff. I've had that happen. It does happen. So again, thanks for watching the videos. Thanks for subscribing. Really appreciate my subscribers. Trying to make as much content as I can on this car. Like I said, I've been down for a couple days fighting that head cold everybody's got. Mine's pretty much gone, thank goodness. If you have it, suffer through it. It's tough. Again, thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing. Let me know your thoughts on Project Frankenstang. How do you think it's turning out? And yeah, let me know your thoughts. Thanks again. Y'all have a good day.